All right. Lastly, is the setup, this is a great one, is the setup so great that it warrants magnification over 8x? And so, that's a great question, right? So now we're starting to see the 10-minute go blue. And here's a great opportunity where we can kind of look and we can kind of see, like, do we see more bearish confluence building? We'll let these turn. Okay, so you see cyan in the 15, you see deep blue in the 10. Now that's a better place actually to go look at the 5 for an entry. Why? Because you have larger time frames relative to the 5 displaying a bit of bearishness. So I don't really see conditions conducive here, but this would be a great example of that question, right? The one that we just asked. Is this setup so great that it warrants more than an 8x magnification, right? Because at 8x you start really standing to lose a bit more significant money as a percentage. Is this setup so great that it warrants more than an 8x magnification? No, it's a 5 risk-reward ratio just based on that alone. And if I look at the logic behind my stop loss and my entry, it's based on 5-minute time frames. Absolutely not. This is like, kind of crazy to do in the first place, but definitely doesn't make sense for anything like that. So we maybe just consider not doing it, like I said. So with that being said, then we would want to look for something where it does make sense, right? And so we might look for a different time frame. And I think the 4-hour was kind of a good example. So let's just say price action was already down here. If price action was already down here, and we know we're in a slightly bullish channel, and we also look at the fact that there's mad respect here for that pressure line without a volatility line being present, and now we see that there's a volatility line present for the 4-hour. And then we look and we see an overall respect for the volatility line in the 4-hour, even though storage is a little unruly. And we see that in this 4-hour bullish time frame, it never even, touched it. And then we see here, never even touched it, right? And so we go back kind of historically and we go like, how much does storage respect the volatility cloud? Wow, well, sometimes it doesn't even get close to it, and the few times that it has, it respects it pretty well. It doesn't close above it. We've had a few wicks. Okay, so if that's my expectation, based on doing a little bit of research, then that would be a nice place where I could maybe consider longing, right? So going back to the question, is this deserving of an 8x or more? And so for me, if I happened to stumble upon price action that was here in this particular channel, in this particular setup, and let's just say the volatility cloud was a little higher, but I had the support of the volatility cloud, and I also knew based on a number of different time frames that I think price action could take us to 74 cents, probably at least here, which is a 14 risk reward ratio. But maybe even here at 74, maybe as high as 79 is just possible, even if not probable, just possible, right? Because let me double check. If I look at the two channel actually says it's actually a part of the channel now. So yeah, somewhere up here is definitely possible, even if not probable, right? So if that's the case, then I go, yeah, that is possible. And knowing that trend is kind of facing upward for the time frame that I want, if, I'm going to kind of try to really paint the picture for you guys, if the volatility cloud, where did I? Thought I had a place where I had the colors here. Okay, well, let's see what comes up. So if the volatility cloud, oh, it's green, perfect. So if the volatility cloud came to here, when I'm looking at it, it's just like this. right? So now I have massive support from the volatility cloud. It's actually in the perfect place for my trade. And I have support from this deep blue pressure line. And I know that statistically, this could wick a bit. I would probably, actually, let me change this volatility cloud just a little bit, because I want to paint true, like, perfect conditions conducive. And actually, they already are. Take that back. So if I came across this exact configuration, exactly, and the volatility cloud was right there, in perfect harmony with that pressure line, and I happen to come upon price action that was right there, like flirting with that red zone of my trade, that would be a place that's perfect for radical asymmetry, right? And so that is a place where I might try to collapse it a little bit, and then I would do something like this. I would probably make my risk mitigation my absolute value, right? So I'd say, like, I'm going to make it, instead of 10,000, I don't know, I'll make it 2,000 or whatever I think is comfortable, whatever I'm willing to lose, 1% of organically. And so I could literally look for an opportunity to make a lot of money with a little money, right? Like quite a bit of money with a little money. And so if I was going to do something, I could say, like, is this a good place where I could take, let's say $5,000, right? 5K, I don't know why I'm drawing it, but let's just say, could I take 5K? And then what happens if I multiply that by about 5 times 0.05? Am I willing to lose $250? And then the opposite happens, right, on my 5,000. If I'm successful at this, my 5,000 can be multiplied to the tune of about 110%. So am I willing to lose about $250 for the opportunity to attempt to make about 5,000 and some change profit, right? And so for me, like, the answer would be yes. I think based on that logic, I would maybe consider a higher play, like a better play, a more intense play. Whether I increase my organic capital and I do 5x, or whether I just do 1K, right? Let's just say another persona might say, I'm just going to do 1K and I'm willing to lose, let's say they're willing to lose 10%, right? So the person says, I'm going to put up 1K, I'm willing to lose $100 on 1,000. And in that scenario, if I'm successful, or if I'm not successful, I lose about $100, because I put in $1,000. So if I'm not successful, I lose about $100. But if I am successful, then I make, again, 10x leverage times 22%. So I make 220%. I essentially more than triple my capital. And so the $1,000 turns into a bit over $3,000. So the question would be for that person, am I willing to lose $100 or 100 and some change, right? $115, whatever it might be, to attempt, if this comes to fruition, to make $3,000. So I walk away with $2,000 plus profit. And so another person may look at it that way. So you have the ability to use lower leverage with more capital. Consider that at 250 to make 5,000. Or you have another persona that could use 1,000 at a 10x leverage, willing to lose 100 of it. The absolute value of the position is $100, and they're doing it because they believe in the logic behind their entry, their stop loss, how conservative it is, what the overall conditions are, how much of their checklist is conducive to success, and they believe in it so much that they're willing to do a lot with $1,000, right? I'm willing to lose $100 on this trade because I believe I have a really high statistical probability of being able to make $3,000, because again, 10x times 22%, or almost 23%, is about 230%, and that is well over a 3x, right? because you're adding 100%, and you're adding another 100%, and then you're adding another 30%. So that's kind of, again, why that add a percentage calculator is useful too. Otherwise, a lot of people don't really get the percentages. So something to consider. Again, how much do I believe in the logic of my position? Is it truly conducive to something special, or is it just me chasing a trade, right? And so that's something to consider. I might do other little random things too, like build trend lines just to see, like, okay, even if I was trying to use that as a reason to shoot down my plan, this kind of goes to show you that it's successful. And if anything, price action probably won't go all the way down to that entry. It'll probably statistically retest the top of that diagonal resistance, right? Maybe it goes down to the entry, but I wouldn't count on it. And that's why I say, if you happen to just show up to your computer and you're able to identify situations that are highly conducive to good entries like that, then that's a great opportunity to say, wow, I might have caught the bottom of this nice move to the upside. Like, I caught it in the extreme moment of down pressure. And what would that look like? How much should I risk? If losing $100 is too much, then maybe do a $500 position or a $250 position and make it to where losing 10% of $500 feels very palatable, right? Now it feels like $50. If that's too much, then $250, even at 10% of $250, $25 feels very palatable. But again, and I think it's important to concentrate on that side of it. But then again, you have to ask yourself the opposite side. Is 220% of 250 worth it to me, right? Based on the other ways I make money, right? Maybe based on my day job. Or do I just need to reframe it and say, hey, this is the money I'm working with while I'm learning to trade, so that I can use this money and do successful trades in larger positions. And so for now, yes, it's absolutely worth it for me to risk $25 on a $250 position, 10x leverage, knowing that my goal is to make a bit over $500 profit, right? About $600 profit on the move, right? With $25 at risk. That would be great. No guarantees that it'll happen, but that would be great. I'm willing to play that game. And $600 wouldn't be a bad day. It would be paid training. And the whole goal for me is I want to one day do this with larger sums of money, but I want to do it safely. And I want to do it from a place of having played the game before, right? So those are just a lot of different things and personas that you might have to embrace to really make sense of it all. And I think it's worth it just to learn to play the game, to do it with $10, right? Do it with whatever size feels absolutely negligible to you. But it's hard for a lot of people to understand how important that training is. And so if you need to put a little more in there for it to feel real, by all means do it. The point is that a person should not trade capital, sizes or position sizes that are beyond what they're really comfortable with, or that would hurt them in real life. And that's the point of us sharing just our experience. We're not professionals, we're not giving financial advice, but we're just kind of sharing what we've done that we've found success with that makes sense, especially for people who are already participating in the markets. If this just gives some added insight on what helps and what makes sense, and or how to utilize the algorithms that we're kind of playing with, then great. We want that for you.